How's Alfred?
What you'd expect. Took him 3 years to agree to a vacation, and Bruce turned up dead. He asked for some time.
He knows none of us were there either, right?
What about you? You let Jacob Kane give the eulogy.
He offered. He thought it'd be easier on us if he was the one to do it. He's Bruce's uncle.
Hell of a speech. All that talk about a protector who works behind the scenes. If he only knew.
Catherine wouldn't be there if she suspected. I can't see the anti-vigilante police commissioner presiding at Batman's funeral.
There's something else she doesn't know. She has the body of Batman's killer in her morgue. Ra's al Ghul is listed as a John Doe, slated for cremation.
And what if the League of Shadows finds him? If they drop their dear leader in a Lazarus pit, he won't be so dead anymore.
You want to break into the GCPD headquarters for a what-if? Be my guest.
I decrypted the case Batman sent with his message. We should focus on that.
I looked it over, but did I get everything? It doesn't look complete.
I think Ra's interrupted him while he was writing.
He says this has implications that could shake Gotham to its core.
Ominous, but not exactly helpful. I saw a few places we should poke around. Construction sites, a quarry.
He also mentioned a Dr. Langstrom. Anyone know him?
He's a zoologist at Gotham University. Not sure what his connection is, though.
Let's divide up the work. We can meet at the Belfry when we're done. Get it up and running.
Who gets to talk to Langstrom?
Hello heroes and villains, welcome to Multiverse. So why cover Gotham Knights now? Yes, I know I'm a bit late to the party. Sadly, when the game was first released, it was only available on PS5 and I did not have a PS5 just yet. So covering it at the time was not really an option. And afterwards, the critics were not very kind to the game. So covering the game at that point, I wasn't sure if I really wanted to do it or not. But then I remembered a little game that you guys may be familiar with called DC Universe Online. Way back when, the critics were not very kind to DC Universe Online at the time. The nicest critics were lukewarm at best, and a lot of critics were saying it wasn't, either they were saying it wasn't a really good game, or sometimes they would concede that it was a good game, but there wasn't enough content or something like that. In retrospect, it's obvious that a lot of critics way back when were used to MMOs playing in a certain way, and DC Universe Online was very different than pretty much any other MMO out there. So one of the reasons why people didn't really like it was because it wasn't like other MMOs. Like, I have a group of friends who are hardcore, well, they were hardcore EverQuest players for a long time, and whenever they would try another game, they hated the game because it didn't play like EverQuest. And when you try to explain to them, well, yeah, it doesn't play like EverQuest because it's not EverQuest. But somehow, to them, EverQuest was the best of the best of the best. And any game that deviated from EverQuest, even just a little bit, wasn't a good game. So early on, a lot of the complaints about DC Universe Online was because it wasn't like other MMOs, which to me was a good thing because I did not really play those other MMOs, or I did not like most of those other MMOs. So having a game that wasn't like those MMOs was a big plus in my book. And seeing some of the reviews about Gotham Knights recently, I couldn't help but realize that a lot of the reviews seems to hate the game, Not because of what the game is, but because it doesn't exactly play like the Arkham games. It seems that a lot of reviewers expected another Arkham games. That's not what they got, and they were not happy about it. Although I'm not saying that all critics are unfair to the game, because at first glance, when we first heard about the game, there's let's say a few questionable choices that were made, like giving some sort of mystical powers to Red Hood somehow, because it was dipped in the Lazarus Pit, or even the glider that was added to Nightwing for his movement mode. Those were questionable decisions at best. So some of the game design choices were, let's say, questionable, and also some of the designs themselves, like the character designs, do have some of the issues of the Marvel Avengers. Like the characters do look bulky, and so they gave them those weird bulky type of armors. I'll never understand that. They seem to think that it makes things more realistic. They seem to forget that in the case of some characters, like in the case of Nightwing, he's literally an acrobat. What would make probably more sense for Nightwing than a bulky set of armor would probably be like an Olympic type suit. Like we see skin tight costumes at the Olympics all the time. That's what athlete wears. Why? Because it gives them freedom of movement in order to be able to do what they do. So you would think that an athletic, an acrobat type character like a Nightwing would be wearing actually an Olympic suit as opposed to a big bulky suit of armor, but I guess not. And for Red Hood, it's a bit strange how they decided to make him bigger than the rest. I understand that they're probably trying to make him different than Nightwing, but it does seem a bit weird to see Jason Todd being that big. Again, they're using the fact that he was dipped in the Lazarus Pit to explain that, but it still feels kind of weird. So I decided not to listen to the critics, and I figure let's find out for ourselves if the game is as bad as the critic says. Also, there probably were some issues at launch that the game had that have been patched at this point. From what I understand, they did patch the game quite a lot since release. So there might be some performance issues that the game had at release that have been fixed by now. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see for that. And also, one last thing. One of the reasons also why I decided to get the game now is that it was on sale. It was like 70% on sale, so I was able to get it for $30. And also for $30, we also got the Visionary Pack. It seems to be some sort of DLC that includes a whole bunch of costume. So it's a bit strange because they were still selling the full game. They were still selling the game for like 80 something bucks. But if you bought the very same version, with the Visionary Pack included, you could get it for $30. Go figure. So for $30, we couldn't really go wrong. So I said, let's do it. Let us try Gotham Knights. I did not try the game just yet. I just saw the opening cinematic. And it seems that we have 4 playable characters. Robin, Red Hood, Batgirl, and Nightwing. And Nightwing is my favorite of the bunch, so I'm going to start playing the game with that character. So I've never played the game before. It's going to be my first try. And also, unlike a lot of reviewers, I never really played the Arkham games. I tried the first Batman game way back when, and I didn't play it all that much. I also tried Arkham Knights when I got my first PS4, and I played it again for a bit, but again I did not play it all that much. The one thing that really did annoy me about Arkham Knights was the Batmobile. Holy crap! The Batmobile kept on sliding as you were trying to ride it. You couldn't go into a straight line without sliding from side to side. That drove me crazy. It's as if you were sliding on ice or sliding on oil. It's as if somehow the Batmobile could not stick to the freaking road and kept on sliding from side to side. I really hated that. So I did not play the Arkham games all that much. So I won't spend my time comparing Gotham Knights to the Arkham games. Although I did play DC Universe Online a lot. So I might be tempted to compare the two from time to time. Although I do understand that massive multiplayer games, not at all the same thing as a single player game. So you have to have different expectations when you're playing a single player game compared to a massive multiplayer game. So there you go, guys. So we will be playing Gotham Knights, and we will start playing the game with our friend Nightwing. So see you guys next time.